handle that. We're going to beat them in November.
All right, did you catch that? You might notice, and this has happened a number of times during the campaign, especially some recent campaign appearances, Kamala Harris shuts down the lock 'em up chants. There might be a method to that. We're learning, and this is courtesy NBC News, that any comments that Kamala Harris makes that could be seen as referencing these federal charges ongoing against Donald Trump could affect his election interference case. That's the last thing she wants to do, or Democrats want to do. I want to pick John Yoo's fine brain on all of this, the former Deputy Assistant Attorney General, UC Berkeley law professor, much, much more. Pretty good lawyer as well. If you're in deep trouble, you do want to seek out John. So, John, it is an interesting strategy, and I wanted to talk to you about it, that this lock 'em up thing is more than just sort of a political statement here. It's a way to avoid anything that could get into this interference thing on these charges. What do you make of that?
You know, if I'm the guy to call when someone's in trouble, then Kamala Harris and Joe Biden should be calling me up now, or the special counsel should be calling me up now, because they have dug themselves such a hole. Because what you saw there is Kamala Harris trying to deal with the fundamental problem that they caused by using the Justice Department to go after their main political rival in the presidential election. And so usually as a candidate, you want to attack your opponent. But on the other hand, when you're in charge of the Justice Department and you control all the federal prosecutors, as Biden and Harris do, they're not supposed to be using the media to try to taint the jury pool. Donald Trump's going to be able to go into court now and say, look, I never got a fair trial because the prosecutors, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, on down to the special counsel, have been accusing me in the media of being an insurrectionist. How am I able to get a fair jury trial? Those prosecutors, he's going to say, have broken their professional ethics by trying to try me in the media instead of trying me in the courthouse, which is where they're supposed to do it.
All right, but Donald Trump didn't stop fans of his from saying about Hillary Clinton, lock her up. So is the difference that there are no ongoing legal cases regarding Hillary Clinton at that time? There are plenty of legal cases ongoing against Donald Trump at this time?
It's really interesting, Neil. People forget that what Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have done is something that Donald Trump could have done. But actually, despite all his chanting, lock her up, remember he said at the debates that he was going to throw her in jail or she'd be in jail soon. Actually, when it came down to it, when Donald Trump became president, he followed our 200-plus year norm of not going after political rivals with prosecution in the Justice Department. He could have had Hillary Clinton prosecuted for diverting all those classified emails into her home computer system. But he didn't. Actually, the Justice Department dropped it. They could have gone after it, but
if you're just talking, I understand what you're saying very well, and you say it very eloquently, John, but if you're just talking about insightful rhetoric, both sides are guilty of this. I guess in this case, you wonder where this is going. In this particular case, that she doesn't want necessarily delayed or put off or God forbid, in her perspective, you know, completely shut down. So where does it stand as things stand now?
That's a nice point. Right now, actually, the special counsel just went into court to ask for a 3-week delay in the proceedings. This is a special counsel appointed by Merrick Garland and Joe Biden, who was rushing to try to get the case in before the election. And it took the Supreme Court to say, no, we're going to strike out the main charge, this obstruction of justice charge, of Congress charge. We're going to strike that out. We're going to grant presidents an immunity from prosecution, which no Supreme Court has ever recognized before as for presidents. You couldn't get a stronger message from the courts that this kind of lawfare should be brought to an end. So I would say, I mean, I don't expect this, but I would say if Harris, who's vice president, or Joe Biden, who's president, were to do something truly daring, they could say this was all a mistake. We made a mistake and we're going to drop the prosecution. We're going to fire the special counsel. In fact, a trial judge in Florida has already said the special counsel is unconstitutional. We're just going to close shop on this and let the voters decide this November, which is how our system handled cases like Donald Trump for 200+ years.
All right, well, that would, you're the legal expert, but as you know, because I've watched so many law shows, I do qualify. That seems unlikely to me. But could I get your sense if Donald Trump loses this election? if he wins, a lot of this stuff could go away just by the virtue he's the president of the United States and he can do a lot. But if he loses, what still hangs in the balance?
Neil, you're watching the best law shows from what I can tell, because that is
I'm listening to you.
Unanswered. That is an unanswered question. Nobody knows. So we know if Donald Trump wins and he becomes president, he actually becomes head of the Justice Department, and he can have these cases against him dropped. There's still going to be the New York and Georgia cases that could still be going forward, but those might get delayed till after he's president. If he loses, you're asking the best question, Neil. What does Harris do? Is she going to continue this campaign of lawfare? Because I think if she does, that means that norm that we followed for 200 years is going to be permanently broken, and we could see this reciprocal tit-for-tat fights against whoever wins the presidency goes after their predecessor or their opponent, just like we see in Latin American countries or Asian countries right now. Or she could try to repair the breach and say, I will drop all the charges against Trump. This was a mistake for our system. We want to restore the idea that we're not going to use prosecution to settle our political differences.
Interesting. You know, John, we're wrapping up the Olympics, but if there were a medal for outstanding legal analysis, I'd give you the gold right now.
I would get that one for fourth place.
Popular news event. There you go. Oh, no. Hardly.
The
John,
copper.
thank you so much. The copper one. John Yoo, former Deputy Assistant Attorney General of the United States.